Jahl picked a very specific date, September 11. On this day, he came to the memorial, sticked the models of airplanes into it, activated smoke grenades, and started giving away flyers saying, "America, the terrorist state. You got what you deserve."
He has powerful people behind him. He's not the only one.
Something very abnormal started happening from the very beginning. Minister of the Interior Affairs of Czech Republic publicly supported Jakub Jahl, dismissed the testimony of the children.
Why does a political party of the Czech Republic have such an investment on Jakub, on his book in Africa? Like, no one's even really going to read this thing. Journalists in multiple countries, and including America, are now defending an alleged PDF file. The American audience is kind of thrown into this rabbit hole of distorted facts. I think people would be really pissed off to find. I advise listeners to stay tuned because the web gets big and things get a lot more serious once we start getting into the Russian territory.
Today is the part 2 of our investigation into the case of Jakub Jahl. In our previous episode, we talked to Marketa. She went herself into Tanzania to verify the accusations against Jakub Jahl, which existed long before her investigation and before the documentary that she made. What she found in Africa shocked her and shocked everyone who heard the voices of the children and what they had to say about what Jakub Jahl was doing to them. But what shocked Marketa the most were not the things in Africa, despite the fact that they were horrifying, but the development of things back in Czech Republic, where local authorities started defending Jakub Jahl, completely ignoring the testimonies of the children and the witnesses. According to the international law, including the Lanzarote Convention on Protection of Children from Sexual Abuse and Trafficking, there is a direct and very precise order in which local authorities should act when there are publicly available testimonies. Investigations should be initiated immediately, and local authorities do not need to be contacted by foreign country or the victims themselves. Yet, in case of Jakub Jahl, something very abnormal started happening from the very beginning. Minister of the Interior Affairs of Czech Republic publicly supported Jakub Jahl, dismissed the testimony of the children, and called it a smear campaign against a citizen with no investigation conducted. Right after that, articles started appearing in which journalists were also defending Jakub Jahl, calling it a smear campaign, completely erasing the testimonies of the children from Africa. So how is it that the little-known blogger from Czech Republic all of a sudden receives support on the highest levels of the government in Czech Republic from the minister himself? And we're going to examine what were the political connections of Jakub Jahl before the documentary, before Africa, and where it all began.
Yeah, so Tali, I think you ask a lot of really good questions there. And it's extremely hard to understand how easily people in powerful positions could come to his defense without actually acknowledging the testimonies of the children. In our last episode, Marketa had explained some really traumatizing stories. If you guys haven't seen that episode yet, I highly recommend you check out the last video that was posted on this channel. And you could hear those stories for yourself. Children being drugged, children being taken into rooms with the doors locked, coming out all out of whack, not being able to communicate, acting extra tired, pretty much giving clues that drugs were possibly involved, acting in very weird ways. Boys started touching other boys after they were taken into these rooms, pretty much, which could insinuate that there's mimicking behavior going on. The horrific story of Rosie talking about her encounter with Jakub Jahl. And then as you mentioned, we see the second this documentary is released, all of these very powerful people start to just come out of the woodwork, right? We know that beforehand, no one really paid much attention to Jakub, what his opinions were, what he was posting. And we know that he was into all sorts of shit stirring leading up to this event. And if we dig a little bit back into some of those shit stirring events, we can kind of see that there's always been this shadow of support of some sort. And I think that might really lead us up to where his ideas of impunity really came from, that he could just go to a foreign country, do whatever the hell he wants, and get away with it. Right. And we know that this is something that himself had said, and which was recorded in the documentary, that he has powerful people behind him and he can get away with murdering someone if he really wanted. And he's not the only one. We know that there are other people that are within this same circle, have said the same exact things, and that have very similar, really weird histories and accusations about them. So maybe, Tully, we get into a little bit of like prehistory of who was Jakub before this documentary. What sort of events and things was he really doing within his line of work here?
So the story of Jakub Jahl begins in 2011 when he vandalized the memorial to American soldiers who liberated Czech Republic from the Nazis. In order to do that, Jahl picked a very specific day, September 11. On this day, he came to the memorial, sticked the models of airplanes into it, activated smoke grenades, and started giving away flyers, which were saying, "America, the terrorist state. You got what you deserved." Jakub went on for 3 years. On September 11, 2012, Jahl defaced the Thank You America monument, which is registered as a war grave, again, causing the city of Pleasant 30,000 Czech crowns in damages, for which he was sentenced to 15 months of probation in January of 2013, according to publicly available data. And in 2013, Jakub Jahl was wandering around that memorial again when the bomb appeared on top of it. And the entire team of SWAT had to come with a bomb diffusing unit to verify if that was a real bomb. It wasn't. Despite numerous accounts, Jahl denied that he planted that object onto the memorial, stating that he was simply walking around with anti-American poster. At that time, Jakub Jahl was organizing different performances against local politicians, painting their bullseye on their faces, asking people who were passing by to throw a stone into the politicians' images, and filed a lawsuit against a local politician accusing him of stealing camera. Jahl lost 3 courts in a row. During the court proceedings, it was established by the forensic expert in the field of clinical psychology that Jahl has a tendency to distort facts and is unreliable as a witness. During the court proceedings, Jakub Jahl illegally published the court documents on the internet, for which he was fined, and the fine was paid by a local politician. So, was Jakub Jahl an activist acting on his own, or was he just a pawn in somebody's political games, even back then?
You know, I think for Jahl as a young kid at this time, it's very radical for him to step out on the street with fake bombs next to him, claiming they're not his, calling other countries terrorists, vandalizing memorials for people who sacrificed their lives for his country. I can't imagine someone so young having enough motivation to just want to be out on the street inciting violence to politicians. All of these things are they're strange. They're strange for someone that young to be doing. Someone with no job has all the time in the world to go out and be doing these things. And when he finds himself in court and has to pay fines, he finds himself being backed by other politicians. It's interesting to see that he's gotten himself into some sticky situations before Africa. And that backing was already there before he was in Africa. And we see that backing come to light the second something very serious, some very serious allegations are being made towards him. A lot more of these people start coming out. Maybe we can look at like short term, right? Marquetta's documentary drops, all of these children's testimonies comes out, and right away we see on social media what people start coming out of the woodwork here.
Well, right away we're seeing the picture of the Minister of the Interior Affairs standing with Jakub Jahl and talking about support. He posted on his Instagram that he supports Jakub Jahl, that he believes Jakub Jahl is innocent, and of course the entire thing is not going to be investigated after such statements. In addition to that, he also smeared the whistleblowers. He said that this is an attack by a pro-Russian sect. By that time, Allatra was already declared undesirable on the territory of Russia.
Yeah, so the narrative is contradicting, right? And we see that those very politicians are using the same exact narrative of this anti-cult network that we've covered many times before on this channel. We do know that Jahl had published a book particularly about Africa. What was the name of the title of that book? It was like Africa Where Dreams Go to Die or something along those lines.
Yes. It's a very interesting part of the story that in 2022, Jakub Jahl publishes a book about his adventures in Africa. Inside of the book, we can see the list of donors and those sponsors without whom this book would never happen, according to Jahl. And in the list, we can see at least a few names associated with the pirate party of the Czech Republic. For example, František Hagara, the number one of Jahl's list of supporters. Even more detailed list of sponsors is available on the website Startovač, where Jakub Jahl was collecting money for his book. The list of sponsors who send money to Jakub Jahl includes František Hagara, member of the Czech Pirate Party since 2016, member of the Security and Public Order Commission of the Plezen 1st Municipal District, and member of the City of Plezen Commission for Security, Drug Policy and Crime Prevention. Jindřich Čermák, member of the Czech Pirate Party since 2018, member of the Karlovy Vary City Assembly, regional councillor for education, and member of the leadership of Pirates Party in Karlovy Vary Local Association. Yelena Priplatova, head of the Pirate Party Working Group on Tertiary Education, Science, Research and Innovation, chairwoman of the popularization section of Czech Skeptics Club. Priplatova also contributed to Jakub Jahl's anti-Allatra book project. This book project was also supported financially by the member of Prague City Assembly, representative of the Czech Pirate Party since 2012, Viktor Machrik, chair of the Prague Committee for Technical Infrastructure and Amenities. Among contributors to Jakub Jahl's earlier My Mormon Story crowdfunding campaign is also Adam Zabronsky, member of the Czech Pirate Party since 2012, Prague City Councillor responsible for property transparency and legislation, member of the Prague City Assembly since 2014 and Prague City Council since 2018, member of the Pirate Party's Republican Committee. He is also an active contributor to Czech Wikipedia since the age of 14, according to the information on Pirate Party website. Viktor Machrik, along with another sponsor of Jakub Jahl's anti-Allatra book, David Schneberger, also sponsored Radio Free America project on the very same platform, organized by Alexandra Alvarova. Alvarova is included on the website of Stephen Hassan as one of his colleagues, along with Dave Troy. Together with Jim Stewartson and Heidi Kuda, they created online echo chambers of Russian-styled anti-cult propaganda, including dehumanizing narratives against Allatra, identical to those used in Russia. And in January of 2026, Steven Hassan even announced that he might platform Jakub Jahl on his podcast. Alvarova has a long-standing relationship with Jan Bartoszek, one of the main defenders of Jakub Jahl in Czech Republic. Alvarova is a former press secretary of Jan Bartoszek's political party. Bartoszek publicly promoted Alvarova's lecture on information warfare and mind hacking, causing public outrage even among the members of European Parliament, who called it a propaganda of anti-scientific conspiracy theories, which Alvarova is known for. Nevertheless, Alvarova seems to be playing an important role in connecting European and American defenders of Jakub Jahl. In his book about Africa, among the people without whom publishing of this book would be impossible, Jakub Jahl mentions Jan Kozak, a religious scholar who teaches at Charles University. Jakub Jahl studied religious studies at the same Institute of Philosophy and Religious Studies at Charles University where Kozak works. Another influential figure in the list of sponsors of Jakub Jahl, mentioned both in the book and on the website as a donor who financially supported Jakub Jahl, is Arpad Soltes. In this list, right in the middle, the name of Arpad Soltes. Soltes is one of the most influential media personalities in Eastern Europe. He is one of the founders of the Jan Kuciak Investigative Center. On the page of this center, at the very bottom of the screen, we can find the list of partners of this organization, among which Investigated CZ, OCCRP, V-Square, Global Initiative Journalism Network, and Reporters Sans Frontiers. These are precisely the outlets which initiated a massive smear campaign against Alatra after the documentary was published, and Alatra provided a platform for children of Africa to be heard. In the articles published by these outlets and shared across the entire network of the OCCRP, the children were not mentioned a single time, but the very same demonizing and dehumanizing narrative was used against Alatra.
You know, when you look at these, particularly me, when I read Global Investigative Journalism Network, that sounds very legit. You know, it sounds very official that they would do some pretty serious work on investigative journalism across the world. And they left out a massive chunk, a massive part of the story. And instead, it was a one-sided narrative. And it makes you wonder, right, where the journalism really is. And you can see it's purely out of defense with a complete disregard to the other half of the story, right? So we know Jakub was in Africa. We know that he was wearing pirate party shirts. Other people that were going to that same part of Africa, hanging out with the same group of children, were wearing pirate party shirts. They were painting the pirate party logo on the orphanage. They were thanking other members of the pirate party for contributing to the efforts. It's a really strange thing for me to think about. Why does a political party of the Czech Republic have such an investment on Jakub, on his book in Africa? Like, no one's even really going to read this thing. Yet all of these people that are within the party are donating to make sure this book gets published. Why does that benefit them in any way?
That's a very good question. Jakub did not go to Africa alone. In his trip, he was accompanied by Antonin Shebel, a representative of Pirate Party of Czech Republic. Here he is with the African children. They even made a presentation for the party about their trip. In this video, they themselves documented the children that they relocated. Jakub Jahl was later accused of allegedly trafficking children in the official report of the Tanzanian Social Services. Some of the children went missing and have not been seen ever since. Here is he on the screen with Jakub Jahl. And here is another picture of Jakub Jahl with one of the children. So the connection between Jakub Jahl and Pirate Party are not just the surface level. They were supporting him all along. And the following sign was installed in the Nature and Skills Center in Moshi. Thanks Marketa Grigorova, Slavenska Piratska Strana. Now, what Marketa Grigorova had to do with it, and what did they thank her for? In the video, Shaibal mentions specific members of Pirate Party who apparently were sending money directly to Jakub Jahl. The list includes, besides Grigorova, two sitting at the time members of Czech Parliament from the Pirate Party. Jakub Mikalek, who was also the chairman of the Pirate Parliamentary Group, and František Navkral, and at the time member of Prague City Assembly Michaela Krausova, former Pirate Caucus chair.
A tady bych chtěl poděkovat i dalším členům Pirátů a pirátským politikům, kteří se zapojili do pomoci tomuto sirotčinci. Myslím, že to je Markéta Gregorová, Franta Navrkal, Míša Krauzová s Kubou Michálkem nám také, nebo Kubovi respektive tam poslali pak nějaké peníze na podporu a na stavbu. Myslím, že houpaček, teď nějaký kolotoč se tam stavěl a tak.
Marketa Grigorova is a chair of the European Pirate Party. She is the member of European Parliament from Czech Republic since 2019. So she is a sitting member of European Parliament, and she was an MEP back then when Jakub was doing his trips to Africa.
We can't say for a fact that she knew exactly what she was contributing to, but it is definitely it's odd that this trip is funded by people of a specific political party. At least to my knowledge, none of them came out and spoke out against Jakub after these series of events. So to me, that just kind of goes to show that, one, they're either trying to save their own tail, or two, they have a very specific goal with sending Jakub there.
But what has Minister Rakushan to do with it? At the time of the events in Africa, his political party was in alliance with the pirates, which makes one wonder, is that why Rakushan was not willing to investigate the events in Africa in which his political allies were involved?
You know, there seems to be a heavy investment into Jakub Jahl, whichever way you look at it. He's become a very weak link in a very big chain of people. And a lot of these people have to understand, whether they're involved or not, if they have any ties to Jakub, that when he goes down, a long list of people that have supported him along this entire journey are also going to go down with him. All of these people are jeopardized the second that these children's testimonies come out. And that's exactly why we don't hear them in journalistic pieces, in bloggers' videos. And it's not a coincidence. And I think it's really important that Americans should give a shit, because, excuse my language, but now a case that is seemingly on the other side of the world is being spread falsely within the American audience. And whether Nexpo understands exactly what circle he just involved himself in is something that could be debated. But this is just another person that is now implicated in this long list of supporters. And I think that they are firing on all cylinders to make sure that these children's voices are silenced. And anybody that is giving these children's voices a platform are also going to be silenced. So this is not some some Alacha versus Jakub like internet feud, because we can honestly give two shits about this guy. But the fact that now multiple countries, journalists in multiple countries, and including America, are now defending an alleged PDF file. And if the American audience is kind of thrown into this rabbit hole of distorted facts, and they go ahead and support him just from some random video they see on the internet, I think people would be really pissed off to find the whole story. So I hope that viewers that are watching this can see these connections and see why there are so many dehumanizing articles about simple people that are giving children a voice.
Yes, and the efforts are really massive. One of the most influential people who stood in defense of Jakub Jahl is Jan Bartoszek, the member of the Christian Democrats of Czech Republic. Up until 2025, he was a deputy president of Chamber of Deputies in the Parliament of Czech Republic. In 2026, Jan Bartoszek organized an unprecedented event in support of Jakub Jahl in Czech Republic in the building of the Parliament of Czech Republic. And in order to demonize Allatra, he invited the representatives of counterintelligence of a foreign country, which caused a huge outrage in Czech Republic. People could not understand what is happening, why foreign intelligence is lecturing Czechs in their own parliament. The response from the people says it all. What is happening around Jakub Jahl is not normal. This is not a regular course of events. There are massive efforts from the people with a lot of power to defend a blogger with a few subscribers. Just a few days ago, our colleague from Europe, Vlad Nevsky, who is also doing an investigation into the anti-cult network, published a video. In this video, he analyzed the timeline of the smearing publications against Allatra and the precise moment when Jakub Jahl started recording his videos. It was not a random moment. In August of 2023, Allatra was declared undesirable in Russia. Along with that, over 60 publications were published in this country. As you can see, it was few months before the raids in Ukraine and the wave of publications in Ukraine. But Jakub Jahl got activated precisely after those events in Russia. And he puts out 9 videos in less than 2 weeks, from the end of August to the beginning of September of 2023. In his videos, he is using the very same narratives and the very same statements and the same people which were used in the campaign in Russia, which was initiated by Alexander Dworkin and his department Reitzers, affiliated with Russian FSB. Alexander Dworkin is not hiding this connection. In fact, he is proud of it. In our next episode, we are going to investigate the network of so-called cult experts, which are working in close affiliation with Alexander Dworkin and Russian FSB, and the influence that they are imposing on European and American societies, and the consequences of their actions.
I think that the audience will really get a kick out of expanding this web of people, because once you start to get into especially the Russian territories and the power and the destruction of society that's taken place by these very people, we can start to see their tentacles are leaching into other countries, are leaching into judicial systems, and laws are changing due to these very people that are supporting Jakub and activities just like this. So I advise listeners to stay tuned, because the web gets big and things get a lot more serious once we start getting into the Russian territory.
Thank you for being with us. Write your thoughts in the comment section below, and see you in our next episode.